Okay, on this side of the notes, this is just going over examples of actually taking the functions and comparing them. On this very first one, the set of directions for the first few examples is to determine which linear function has a greater rate of change. What is the rate of change, the slope or the intercept? Okay, so underline that and write slope above it. We're really just looking for slope. The rate of change is the slope. Okay, so in the equation for number 1, y equals 3x minus 4, what is the slope? Okay, so slope equals 3, and we know it because it's with the x value, right? All right, and then looking at the table, how am I going to find the slope? Find out the change in y over the change in x. What is the change in the y values? I'm adding how much? 4. Negative 10 plus 4 is negative 6. Negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2. 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. All right, what are the x values changing by? Positive 2. So 4 over 2. What is 4 over 2? So which one has a greater rate of change? The equation or the table? The equation. The equation has a greater rate of change because 3 is greater than 2. All right, number 2. Let's look at this. The output of a function is equal to the input divided by 2. So they're saying that the rule is to divide by 2. And on this one, how are the values changing? How are the y values changing? They're adding 1. How are the x values changing? They're adding 3. Negative 6 plus 3 is negative 3. Negative 3 plus 3 is 0, and so on. If negative values trip you up, then just start on the other side of the chart. Okay? You can see that 3 plus 3 is 6, and 6 plus 3 is 9. All right, so we already know the slope of this one. The slope of this one is 1 over 3, which is already simplified to 1/3, right? Let's go back to the verbal one, though. So it says that we're dividing by 2. So we're taking a number, and we're dividing it by 2 each time. And the number is going to be the x value. So I can make a chart for this. Let's say that you need to see it. Well, what is 1 divided by 2? It's a half, right? What's 2 divided by 2? 1. What's 3 divided by 2? 1.5, or 3 halves. So we're just splitting everything in a half. The input divided by 2. Okay, so what is the slope? What are these changing by? They're changing by halves, or 0.5. And what is the x values changing by? 1. So what is 1/2 divided by 1? It's 1/2, right? So the slope on this one is 1/2. Which one is greater, 1/2 or 1/3?
No, 1/3.
Which one's bigger? Look at the decimal values. What is 1/2 as a decimal?
1/2.
what is 1/3 as a decimal? 0.3 repeating, right? Which one's greater, 50 cents or 33 cents? 50 cents is bigger, so the half is bigger. So in this case, the situation has a greater rate of change because 1/2 is greater than 1/3. Okay, let's look at number 3. Number 3 is comparing an equation to a graph. So looking at the equation, what is the rate of change here? It's 2/3. What is the rate of change on the graph? Well, we're going to have to find two whole number values, right? I'm going to suggest you use the intercept because that's a whole number. And then follow that line up to where it crosses exactly at another point. Is that 2, 4? Okay, so how far up is this? Up 3. How far over? 2. Okay, so the question is 2 over 3 greater than 3 over 2, or is 3 over 2 greater than 2 over 3? 3 over 2 is 1.5, right? 2/3 is 0.6 repeating. So think of this as $1.50, and this is 66 cents. So $1.50 is greater. So the graph's rate of change is greater because 3/2 is greater than 2/3. Okay, let's look at 4 and 5. The directions for 4 and 5 say determine which function has a greater y-intercept. Another term for y-intercept is initial value or starting value, where it begins. Okay? So what is the y-intercept on the graph? The y-intercept is 6. It's where it crosses the y-axis. All right, now the situation that they gave us, it says the output of a function is equal to 4 more than the product of the input and 3. What does product mean we're doing? Product means we multiply, and so we're taking the input, which is the x value, times 3. So it's y equals 3x. And what does 4 more than mean? Am I adding 4 or subtracting 4? More than. What does that mean? Add. Add 4. Now, anytime you see the term more than or less than, that's what's going on the end of the equation. Okay, so 4 more than goes on the back end. So what is the y-intercept of this equation? So this is the y-intercept. Which one has a greater y-intercept, the graph or the situation? The graph. The graph's y-intercept is greater, and it's because 6 is greater than 4. Okay, let's look at the very last example for this, number 5. What is the intercept for the equation? 2. And what is the intercept in the table? -2. So which one has a greater initial value or y-intercept? The equation or the table? The equation has a greater y-intercept, and it's because 2 is greater than -2.